The rain fell in sheets, as if someone had upended a colossal bucket over the city of Chicago. It hammered against the emergency room windows with a terrifying rattle. But the cold of the storm outside was nothing compared to the icy dread coiling in my spine. I lay on a hospital gurney, the crisp white sheets reeking of alcohol and antiseptic. A pain bloomed in my chest, a brutal sensation, as though invisible hands were tearing apart my flesh and blood vessels. It was a pain I had never known, sharp and relentless. Every breath felt like the slice of a knife. The doctor told me I had a thoracic aortic dissection. The name was foreign, but the grave look on the chief of cardiology's face, the deep furrows in his brow, told me the Grim Reaper was hovering at my bedside. He leaned in close, his voice urgent but steady. "Grace, can you hear me clearly? Your condition can't wait. The artery could rupture at any moment. We need to perform emergency surgery to replace the damaged section. It's your only chance of survival." I managed a weak nod, cold sweat plastering my hair to my temples. The doctor continued. "The cost of the surgery, medication, and specialized equipment is estimated to be around $150,000. Your family needs to make a down payment by 5 p.m. today so we can prepare the operating room and supplies." It was already 2 p.m. $150,000. The number echoed in my head, a leaden weight crushing my already agonizing chest. I turned to look at Kevin. My husband was huddled in the corner, his face drained of all color, his hands twisting together, trembling. His shirt, soaked from the rain, clung to him miserably. As soon as the doctor left to prepare the paperwork, I fought through the pain and beckoned Kevin closer. I forced the words out, each one a struggle. "Honey, the savings account. Go to the bank and withdraw it." Kevin fell to his knees beside the gurney, gripping my cold hand. He couldn't meet my eyes, his face buried in the sheets, his voice cracking. "Grace, I'm so sorry. There's no money left." I froze. For a moment, even the pain in my chest seemed to stop, replaced by a profound, disorienting shock. We had worked so hard for years, saving every penny. How could there be no money? "What are you talking about?" I rasped. "Where is it? It was all there 3 weeks ago." Kevin broke down, his tears mixing with the rainwater on his face, dripping onto the bed. "Last week," Mom called. She said Dad was critically ill and needed money for treatment, fast. She said he wouldn't make it without it. She was crying so hard. I was so scared. I withdrew everything and sent it to her. I thought Dad was really sick. A bitter taste filled my throat. His mother, his family. In the 3 years I had been their daughter-in-law, they had never given us a day of peace. It was always something money, for house repairs, for a relative's funeral, for a nephew's job application, and now for his father's medical bills. But this time, it was my life on the line. I was lying here, dying, and the money meant to save me was gone, sent to his father based on a lie. I clenched my teeth, clinging to my last shreds of consciousness. "Call her. Tell her to send it back, to save me." Kevin fumbled for his phone, his hands shaking. The cheerful, upbeat ringtone felt like a cruel joke in this sterile, desperate room. No one answered. He tried his dad, then his brother, Rick, and his sister, Sharon. All went to voicemail or rang endlessly. Kevin was panicking now. "No one's picking up, Grace." I snatched the phone from his hand. I couldn't die like this. I was young. We didn't even have children yet. I had so many plans. A fierce will to live surged through me. I dialed my sister-in-law's number myself. This time, someone answered. Sharon's voice was loud, as if she were in a crowded place. "Hello? Grace? What's with all the calls?" I tried to speak as loudly as I could. "Sharon, help me. I'm in the ER, an aortic dissection. I need $150,000 for emergency surgery. Tell your mom to send the money back to Kevin, or lend it to me. I'm going to die." There was a second of silence on the other end, then Sharon's voice returned, cold and annoyed. "Oh, you always make such a big deal out of everything. A little pain and you're screaming bloody murder, and we don't have any money. Mom spent it all on Dad's treatment. I'm broke myself, business has been terrible. I have to think twice before buying my morning coffee. Look, "I've gotta go. I'm in a meeting." The line went dead. I stared at the dark screen in disbelief. She said they had no money. She said I was overreacting. I didn't give up. I called Kevin's aunt and uncle, the same people who had clapped me on the back at my wedding and said I was one of the family now. "Hello, Auntie? It's Grace. I'm in critical condition." "Grace? Oh, honey, I'm at church. The reception is terrible. Can't hear a thing." Click. "Hello, Uncle? Money? At a time like this, kid? I'm still trying to scrape together tuition for my youngest." "If you're sick, go to the hospital." "Why are you calling me? I'm not a bank." Click. 15 calls. 15 flickers of hope, each one mercilessly extinguished. Some phones were off, others just rang. Those who answered either pleaded poverty or hung up the second they heard the word lend. Not one of them asked how I was feeling or what my diagnosis was. To them, I was a nuisance, an outsider trying to leech their money. Outside, the rain continued its assault. Inside the hospital room, the chill in my heart was colder than ice. My hand went limp, the phone dropping onto the mattress. Hot, salty tears streamed down my face. So this is what my life was worth to my husband's family, less than one of their clumsy lies. Kevin sat on the floor, head in his hands, a picture of helpless misery. Time ticked by. The clock's hands crawling toward the fatal 5 p.m. deadline. The pain returned, more ferocious than before. It felt like my chest was being squeezed in a vice. Each breath was a ragged, shallow gasp. Doctors and nurses rushed in, injecting me with painkillers, urging me to stay calm, not to get agitated. If my blood pressure spiked, the artery would burst. But how could I be calm? My life was hanging by a thread, and we were flat broke. Kevin had run out into the hallway to call his friends and coworkers. I lay alone, staring at the blank white ceiling. While waiting for the medication to kick in, I reached for my phone again. It was a habit of mine, scrolling through social media whenever I felt anxious, a way to escape reality. Or maybe, deep down, I still hoped for a message from my mother-in-law, a single text asking if I was okay. The screen lit up with a bright red notification from Facebook. Brenda posted a new update with Rick, Sharon, and 13 others. My heart skipped a beat. Why was she posting now? Wasn't she at my father-in-law's sickbed back in their small Indiana town? Wasn't the family in turmoil, struggling with illness and poverty? My fingers trembled as I tapped the notification. The image that filled my screen was a kaleidoscope of brilliant color, a stark, cruel contrast to the sterile white of my hospital room. There they were, all 15 members of Kevin's extended family, standing shoulder to shoulder, beaming with wide, carefree smiles. Behind them was the sparkling turquoise pool of a luxurious 5-star resort, with the sun-drenched sea and sky of Key West stretching out to the horizon. I recognized it instantly. In the center of the photo was my mother-in-law, Brenda. She was wearing a flamboyant floral maxi dress, holding a vibrant orange cocktail, a huge grin plastered on her face. But what made my blood run cold, what made it boil with rage, was the garish gold jewelry dripping from her neck and wrist. A thick, ornate necklace and a matching bracelet, intricately carved. She had never owned anything like it before. Next to her stood my father-in-law, Frank, the man Kevin said was on his deathbed. He was wearing floral swim trunks and a tank top, his skin ruddy and healthy, a glass of red wine in his hand. He looked healthier than anyone. Rick and Sharon, along with all the aunts, uncles, and cousins, were dressed in their vacation best, their faces bright with glee, not a hint of worry or sorrow. I read the caption Brenda had written above the photo. A family that loves together, vacations together, treating the whole clan to a much-needed getaway after so many hard days. A huge thank you to my wonderful, devoted son for sponsoring this meaningful trip for his mom and dad. Key West is beautiful. Love my family. Devoted son. Those 2 words were like daggers to my heart. Who was this devoted son? It had to be Kevin. Rick was always broke, and Sharon perpetually complained about her failing business. Suddenly, it all clicked into place. The truth, so stark and brutal I could barely accept it. No one was sick. There was no need for medicine. It was all a perfectly orchestrated performance, directed by my mother-in-law to swindle her own gullible son. She knew Kevin loved his parents, knew we had savings, so she fabricated a life-or-death story to drain our account. And that money, our hard-earned money, the very money that was supposed to save my life right now, was being used to fund their seafood dinners, their expensive wine, their air-conditioned suites at a luxury resort. They were basking in pleasure, paid for by my potential death. I looked at the post's timestamp, 10 minutes ago. That was right around the time I had been desperately calling for help. The moment I told them I was dying, they saw my calls. They ignored them, turned their phones off, so they could continue posing for pictures, continue laughing. Their cruelty was more terrifying than death itself. The door creaked open and Kevin walked in, his face a mask of despair. "Grace, I called everyone I know. I could only pull together about $1,500. I said nothing. I just held the phone up for him to see. The picture of his happy family in Key West was still glowing on the screen. Kevin squinted at it. At first, he frowned in confusion. Then his eyes widened in horror. He took the phone, his hand shaking violently. He looked at the date, the time, at his smiling parents. His voice was a choked whisper, like wind through a broken window. "Dad's okay? But Mom said he was dying. Why is she in Key West?" He scrolled down to the comments. An acquaintance had written, "Wow, Brenda. Living the good life? I heard Frank was sick?" My mother-in-law's breezy reply, "Sick? Who told you that silly rumor? We're having the time of our lives down here." Kevin's arm dropped. The phone fell onto the bed. He stood frozen, like a wax figure doused in boiling water. The blind faith and devotion to his parents he had cherished for so long had just been trampled into dust by the people he trusted most. He had given them everything to save his father, only to realize he had helped them murder his wife. I looked at my husband, too exhausted to even be angry anymore. The physical and emotional pain merged into a paralyzing numbness. I closed my eyes, tears tracing paths down to the pillow. Only one thought remained. I have to live. I must live, if only to see how these wicked people will face me. Kevin seemed to lose his mind, muttering, "Why would she do this? Why would they all do this?" Then, suddenly, he shot up, his eyes bloodshot. "I'll get a loan shark, a payday loan. I'll pawn something. I'll get the money, Grace. I can't let you die." He lunged for the door, looking wild and out of control. I knew if he got involved with loan sharks, our lives would become a living hell. We'd never escape. I summoned all my strength, my chest screaming in protest, and yelled, "Stop!" Kevin froze, turning to look at me, his face streaked with tears. "If you borrow from them," I said, my voice shaking, "I will divorce you the second I get out of here. I would rather die now than live in fear of debt collectors." "But what else can we do, Grace? It's almost 3, he wailed. I closed my eyes, taking shallow breaths to steady my heart. I had one last hope. A person I had pushed away for the past 3 years, someone I had treated coldly because I had listened to the slander from my in-laws. They said he was poor, uncultured, not worthy of our association, and I, foolishly, had believed them, slowly severing ties with my own flesh and blood. My fingers trembled as I scrolled through my contacts. The name appeared on the screen, Mike, brother. The phone rang once, twice. My heart tightened. Would he answer? Was he still angry with his ungrateful little sister? A deep, gruff male voice, slightly cool, came on the line, "Hello." Hearing his voice, all the pent-up anguish and pain inside me broke free. I started to sob, unable to form words. Mike's tone immediately sharpened with alarm. "Grace, is that you? What's wrong? Did that husband of yours hit you?" "Mike," I gasped between sobs. "Help me! I'm at the hospital." My artery burst. "I'm dying. I need $150,000 for surgery." His family? "They took all our money. I have no one else." The line went silent. A terrifying silence that stretched for 3 long seconds. I braced myself for him to scold me, to say I deserved it, to hang up like everyone else. But he didn't. His voice came back, clipped and decisive. "Which hospital?" "Northwestern Memorial." "Is your bank account number still the same?" "Yes, but it's so much money." "Just wait. And stop crying. You're wasting your strength." The line went dead. He hung up even faster than a stranger. I held the phone, bewildered. Why did he ask for my account number? Where would he get that kind of money? He was a truck driver. His wife worked in a factory. They were raising 2 kids. How could they possibly have that kind of cash? A minute later, a notification chimed on my phone. Ping. It was the most beautiful sound I had ever heard. I opened the text message. Your account ending in 1234 has just received a deposit of $200,000. Memo. From Mike. For the surgery. Hang in there, sis. $200,000. I couldn't believe my eyes. I rubbed them and counted the zeros again and again. It was real. For my brother's family, that was a fortune. The phone rang again. It was Mike. Did you get it? My voice trembled. Mike, where did you get so much money? I sold that plot of land back home. Was planning to build a house on it next year. But a house can be rebuilt. A person can't be brought back from the dead. I'm on my way up there now. Tell the doctors to operate immediately. Where's Kevin? Tell him he better take damn good care of you. If I get there and anything's happened to you, I won't let his family off the hook. Fresh tears streamed down my face, but these were tears of remorse and overwhelming gratitude. In my darkest hour, the people I had served and respected turned their backs on me. But the brother I had neglected and ignored was willing to sell his future to save me without a second thought. Thank you, Mike, I choked out. I'm so sorry. Shut up. Save your strength for the surgery. I'm hanging up. I looked at Kevin. He had seen the message. He collapsed to the floor, burying his face in his hands, sobbing like a child. He cried for his shame, his humiliation, and for the stark, devastating difference between his family and mine. Just then, my friends and colleagues, who had learned of my situation from a post by my best friend, started sending money through Venmo and Zelle. $50 here, $100 there, all accompanied by heartfelt messages of support. The story started to spread online. There was still kindness in the world, a warmth that stood in stark contrast to the cold rain outside and the colder hearts of Brenda's family. I called the nurse. I have the money, I said, my voice filled with a desperate hope. I can pay. Please, save me. After the payment was processed, I was wheeled to the pre-op waiting area. The panic had subsided, but the dull ache in my chest was a constant reminder of the life and death battle ahead. Kevin, having composed himself slightly, was rushing around with paperwork, his eyes swollen and red. Just then, his phone rang. I glanced at the screen. It was his mother, Brenda, calling back. She must have seen his numerous missed calls, or maybe someone had told her my emergency was real. Or perhaps she was afraid he had discovered her vacation and was calling to placate him. Kevin's hand tightened on the phone, veins popping on his knuckles. He was about to decline the call, but I signaled for him to answer. I wanted to hear what she would say. He put it on speaker. Brenda's voice, syrupy, sweet, and utterly fake, filled the silence. Kevin, sweetie, it's Mom. Did you call me earlier? I was at a wedding out in the country. It was so loud I couldn't hear a thing. The reception is just awful out here. Kevin was silent, his jaw clenched tight. She was still lying, shamelessly inventing a wedding while she was sunbathing in Florida. He finally spoke, his voice raspy. Mom, Grace is in the ER. She has an aortic dissection and needs surgery immediately, or she'll die. I need the money I sent you last week. Send it back right now. There was a brief pause, then Brenda sighed, her tone shifting to one of sorrowful martyrdom. Oh dear, why did she have to get sick at a time like this? That poor girl. But Kevin, that money is gone. I used it all to pay for your father's hospital bills and his special treatments. He's bedridden right now, on oxygen. It's all so expensive. I scraped the bottom of my purse and I only have $200 left for food. How about I send you that? You can use it for some soup or something. Every little bit helps, right? $200. She valued my life, her son's devotion, at $200, while wearing thousands of dollars of gold and staying in a resort that cost $1,000 a night. Kevin couldn't hold it in any longer. He screamed into the phone. $200? You said Dad is on oxygen? Then how come I just saw a picture of him on your Facebook, drinking red wine? The other end went dead silent, a suffocating, damning silence. Brenda must not have expected Kevin to see the photos so quickly, or perhaps she'd forgotten to block her son. A moment later, her voice returned, completely transformed. The sweetness was gone, the fake sorrow vanished. It was replaced by a shrill, shrewish tone, her true nature. "Oh, so you're spying on my Facebook now, are you?" "Yeah, I'm on vacation." "So what? Your father and I worked our fingers to the bone to raise you. We deserve one nice trip. The money you gave us was out of love and respect for your parents. Once you gave it, it was mine. I can spend it however I want. Your wife is sick. That's your problem. How dare you ask for that money back, you ungrateful brat?" Lying on the gurney, listening to her words, I felt a chill creep up my spine. In her mind, the money her son gave her was a prize to be won, regardless of the life or death circumstances. I pushed myself up, wincing in pain, and took the phone from Kevin. I spoke into it, my voice weak, but every word clear and deliberate. "Mom, it's Grace. Thank you for the offer of $200, but I don't need it anymore. You keep it. Buy some more lobster, drink some more wine, for Dad's health. Even if I die, I wouldn't dare inconvenience you for the money Kevin gave you out of devotion. But remember this, the wine you're drinking in Key West today, it tastes of my blood. Enjoy it. Savor every last drop." I hung up. I knew she was stunned on the other end. I didn't care anymore. Kevin looked at me, fresh tears rolling down his cheeks. He snatched the phone back, went into his contacts, and selected his mother, his father, Rick, and Sharon. One by one, his trembling finger hit the block button. He slumped against the side of the gurney, his shoulders shaking. "I'm so sorry, Grace. I'm so sorry. From now on, I don't have that family. I only have you." Just then, a nurse arrived with a stretcher. "It's time. Family needs to wait outside. We're taking the patient to surgery." I was wheeled down a long, sterile corridor. The fluorescent lights on the ceiling blurred into streaks above me. I looked back and saw Kevin standing alone in the cold hallway, a solitary, broken figure. For the first time in 3 years, I saw utter remorse in my husband's eyes, and the spark of a new resolve. The doors to the operating room swung shut, separating me from the world. I drifted into the oblivion of anesthesia, carrying with me a burning resentment and a fragile hope for a new beginning. This surgery wasn't just to mend my broken heart, but to excise the malignant tumor known as my husband's family from my life, forever. I woke to the steady beeping of a heart monitor. The sharp smell of antiseptic filled my nostrils, making me nauseous, but it was also the most welcome signal. I was alive. The pain in my chest was still there, but it was a dull, manageable ache compared to the agony before. I slowly opened my eyes to a white ceiling and soft yellow light. A figure was slumped in a chair beside me, asleep. A big, burly man in worn-out work clothes. It was Mike. I managed to twitch my fingers, and he startled awake instantly. His eyes were bloodshot and ringed with dark circles. He obviously hadn't slept. Seeing my eyes open, he let out a long, heavy sigh of relief. In his usual gruff but caring tone, he asked, "You're awake? Does it hurt bad? Want some water?" I nodded slightly. He carefully dipped a cotton swab in water and moistened my dry, cracked lips. The cool trickle down my throat made me feel more alert. "Am I alive, Mike?" I whispered. He shot me a mock glare. "Alive and kicking. The doctor said the surgery was a complete success. You're too tough to die. And even if you did, I'd drag you back to life to pay me that 200 grand. I managed a weak, lopsided smile, filled with pure happiness. My brother, always a hard shell with a soft heart. The door to the recovery room opened softly. Kevin tiptoed in, carrying a thermos of hot soup. When he saw Mike sitting there, he stopped short, his expression a mixture of shame and fear. Mike looked at Kevin, his gaze as sharp as a razor. "What are you doing here? Shouldn't you be in Key West, showing off your devotion to your parents?" Kevin hung his head. He placed the thermos on the table and then knelt right there, on the floor by my bed. He didn't dare look at Mike, or at me. "Mike, I know I was wrong," Kevin stammered. "I'm a terrible person. I almost killed my own wife. I'm not asking for your forgiveness, but please, just let me have a chance to take care of her." Mike shot to his feet, grabbed Kevin by the collar, and hauled him up. Next to Mike's towering, muscular frame, the slender Kevin looked like a child. "You listen to me," Mike growled. "I saved Grace because she's my sister. As for you, I don't even see you. If Grace didn't still love you, I would have beaten you to a pulp yesterday. What kind of man lets his wife suffer like that? Lets his whole family prey on her?" Kevin sobbed. "I know. I'm sorry. I promise. I'll change. I'll never let my family hurt Grace again." Mike let go, shoving Kevin back onto a chair. "Your promises are cheap. I want to see action. How are you going to handle your family? What about the money? I need it back in 3 months to start building my house." "I'm giving you exactly 3 months to get that $200,000 back to me and cut ties with that family for good. If you can't do it, sign the divorce papers and get out of my sight." Kevin wiped his tears and nodded vigorously. "I promise. I'll work overtime. I'll sell my car. I'll demand the money back from my mom. Whatever it takes, I'll pay you back and protect Grace." Lying in bed, I watched the two most important men in my life, one strong and resolute, the other weak but trying to atone. I reached out and took Kevin's hand. It was cold, but he squeezed mine back, as if holding on for dear life. "Kevin," I said softly, "I don't need empty promises. This is your last chance. If you are weak just one more time, we are finished." He looked directly into my eyes with a determination I had never seen before. "I swear, Grace, if I ever let my family hurt you again, may I be struck by a car." Mike grunted and turned away, trying to hide his emotion. The room was quiet except for the hum of the machines, but in my heart, the storm was beginning to pass. A week later, I was discharged. My recovery was miraculously fast, perhaps because my spirit had been freed. I no longer had to worry about my mother-in-law's judgments or my sister-in-law's unpaid loans. I returned to our small condo with a completely new mindset. The apartment was just as I had left it, but the atmosphere was different. I walked through the rooms, looking at the decorations my mother-in-law used to call cheap and tacky. She had always tried to impose her gaudy taste on our living space. I sat on the sofa and closed my eyes. The painful memories of the past 3 years replayed in my mind. The day I first moved in, when she handed me a thick notebook of family rules, absurd prohibitions like no waking up after 6 a.m., no visiting my own mother more than twice a year, and my salary had to be turned over to her. I had endured it all for Kevin, for the sake of peace, but my patience only fed their greed. They treated me like a bottomless ATM. I opened my eyes and saw Kevin tidying up in the kitchen. "Kevin, I want to change the locks." He paused. "Change them? But they work fine. I don't want anyone from your family to be able to just walk in here anymore," I said coldly. "Your mother and Sharon both have spare keys. I don't want to come home from work to find my things rummaged through or food missing from the fridge, like before." Kevin was silent for a moment, then nodded. "Okay, I'll call a locksmith right now." An hour later, I had the main door fitted with a state-of-the-art fingerprint lock. Only Kevin's and my fingerprints could open it. The sound of the drill was jarring, but it felt like I was building a fortress to protect our small home from the vultures outside. After the locksmith left, I told Kevin, "Call your mother." "What for?" "She's still blocked. Use a different number. Or text her. Let her know you know everything about the Key West trip, and tell her we've changed the locks so she shouldn't bother coming here." Kevin hesitated, then took a deep breath and made the call on speaker. After a few rings, Brenda's sleepy voice answered. "Hello, who is this?" "It's me, Kevin." The line went quiet. She was about to hang up, but Kevin spoke quickly. "Don't hang up, Mom. I just have one question. How was the trip to Key West? Did Dad enjoy the wine?" Brenda stammered. What nonsense are you talking about? I'm in Indiana, taking care of your father." Kevin gave a bitter, humorless laugh. "Stop acting, Mom. I saw the pictures, and Sharon's live stream video. You scammed me out of $150,000 money to save my wife's life, so you could go party. You're unbelievable." Realizing the jig was up, Brenda shrieked. "So what if I did? I gave birth to you. I have a right to your money. Your wife didn't die, so what's the big deal?" Kevin's voice cracked with anguish as he yelled back, From this day on, I'm not your good little boy anymore. I'm banning you and the entire family from ever setting foot in my home. I changed the locks. Don't you dare show your face here. Consider that $150,000 the price I paid to sever our ties." He slammed the phone down and threw it onto the sofa, slumping over and burying his face in his hands. He cried, not from weakness, but from the pain of cutting off his own family. But I knew it was a necessary pain, like removing a tumor. I went to him and put my arm around his shoulders. "It hurts once, and then it's over. We have to live for ourselves now, for our future children." Kevin looked up at me, his eyes red but resolute. "I promise I will never let them hurt you again." The sun was shining now, its rays catching the new, gleaming fingerprint lock on the door. A new chapter of our lives had begun. 3 days later, the uninvited guests arrived. It was a Sunday. I was reading on the sofa while Kevin was in the kitchen. The doorbell rang incessantly, followed by loud, frantic banging. "Kevin, open the door! It's Mom! Why is the door locked? My key won't work!" I flinched. Kevin rushed out from the kitchen, his face grim. "You stay here," he said, and marched to the door. I couldn't sit still. I followed him, hiding behind a decorative screen that separated the entryway from the living room. Kevin didn't open the main door. He opened the inner wooden door, revealing the strong security gate. Through the bars, I could see Brenda and Sharon standing in the hallway, their skin tanned from their vacation, their hands full of grocery bags, a pathetic attempt at a peace offering. "Kevin, honey, open up! It's so hot out here. I brought some organic chicken to make soup for Grace," Brenda chirped, forcing a smile. Sharon chimed in. "Yeah, open up, little bro. I brought you guys some souvenirs from Florida. My legs are killing me." Kevin stood motionless, his knuckles white as he gripped the bars. "Go home, both of you. You're not welcome here." The smiles vanished from their faces. "What did you just say?" Brenda shrieked. "I am your mother. Are you kicking your own mother out?" "My mother would never scam her daughter-in-law out of life-saving money to go on vacation," Kevin said, his voice steely. "My mother would never value a human life at $200. You are not my mother." Sharon jumped in. "What is wrong with you? Has your wife put some kind of spell on you? Mom raised you, and now you listen to her and kick your own mother out? You want me to live stream this and show everyone what an ungrateful son you are?" Kevin scoffed. "Go ahead. And while you're at it, tell them about the $5,000 you borrowed from me for your business and used to get a nose job and a chemical peel. Tell them how the whole family partied in Key West on my wife's surgery money. I'm waiting for you to go live so I can post the evidence." Sharon's face turned beet red. She was speechless. Seeing her plan failing, Brenda resorted to hysterics. She plopped down on the hallway floor and began to wail. "Oh, the humanity! My own son is throwing me out. I raised a viper in my own home. Neighbors, come and see this disrespectful child." Doors creaked open. Murmurs started down the hall. Kevin remained unmoved. He raised his voice so everyone could hear. "Everyone, take a good look. This is my mother. She told me my father was dying of cancer to trick me into sending her $150,000. When my wife had a ruptured artery and needed that money for emergency surgery, she told me it was all spent and continued to post vacation photos from Florida. Now she's here playing the victim. If you think I'm being disrespectful, go ahead and judge me. But I would rather be called disrespectful than have such heartless people in my home." A collective gasp went through the hallway. The neighbors' looks of curiosity turned to ones of disgust, all directed at Brenda and Sharon. Humiliated, Brenda stopped crying. She scrambled to her feet, pointed a trembling finger at Kevin, and spat. "Fine, I disown you. From this day on, I have no son." "Thank you, Mom," Kevin replied coldly. "That's all I ever wanted." Brenda and Sharon stomped away in a fury. Kevin slammed the door shut and triple-locked it. He turned around, letting out a long, shuddering breath. I stepped out from behind the screen. He pulled me into a hug, his head on my shoulder. "You did great," I whispered. He looked up, a sad smile on his tear-stained face. "I feel relieved, Grace. Like a massive weight has been lifted. From now on, our home will only have happiness." We stood there, in the quiet of our living room, the storm finally locked outside. But peace was short-lived. The next blow came from my career. On Monday morning, I received an email from HR. The subject line was blunt: Notice of Employment Termination. The official reason was corporate restructuring, but I knew the truth. I had been on medical leave for too long, almost 2 months. In the fast-paced, cutthroat world of marketing, such a long absence was a death sentence. I stared at the screen, stunned. Losing my job now was a devastating financial blow. The $200,000 debt to my brother still loomed over us. Kevin's salary was just enough to cover our daily expenses and the mortgage. Without my income, we would be in serious trouble. When Kevin came home and saw my face, he immediately knew something was wrong. I showed him the email. He was silent for a long time, then took my hand. "It's okay, Grace. When one door closes, another opens. You just focus on getting completely healthy. I'll handle the money. I'm taking on some freelance design projects at night. It'll be enough." "No," I said, shaking my head. "You'll work yourself to death. I'm healthy now. I have to find a job." I sent out my resume everywhere. But at 32, with a history of major heart surgery, companies were hesitant. They feared I couldn't handle the pressure. The rejections piled up, and my spirit began to sink. One afternoon, I was looking at the mess in our apartment. Clothes draped over chairs, books scattered about. The clutter mirrored the chaos in my mind. I decided to clean, not just tidy up, but a complete overhaul. I decluttered, organized, and rearranged everything according to minimalist principles I'd read about. After 4 hours of intense work, I stood back and looked at my creation. The apartment was transformed. It felt spacious, airy, and serene. Everything was in its place. The clarity in my home brought clarity to my mind. On a whim, I took some before and after photos and posted them on my Facebook page with a jokey caption, "Unemployed, so I've become a high-end cleaning lady. Anyone need a professional home organizer?" To my surprise, the post blew up. Friends commented on my skills. Several people messaged me directly. "Grace, are you serious? Can you come organize my closet? It's a disaster zone. Grace, please, come save my kitchen. I'll pay you well." An idea sparked in my mind. Why couldn't this be a profession? In the US, there were plenty of cleaning services, but professional home organizing consulting on how to structure and declutter living spaces was a niche, growing field. The demand from busy, young professionals in a city like Chicago was huge. I discussed the idea with Kevin. His eyes lit up. "That's brilliant, Grace. You have a great eye for design, and you're so meticulous. It's less stressful than marketing, and you can set your own hours. I fully support you. I can even help with 2D floor plans if clients need to reconfigure their space." Energized by his support, I dove in. I took online courses, read books, and created a business page called Graceful Spaces. My first client was a former colleague who hired me to tackle her husband's cluttered home office. After 2 days of work, the room was unrecognizable. Her husband was speechless. "Wow, is this my office? I thought you hired an architect." She paid me my fee of $300, plus a $100 tip. Holding the first money I had earned from my new venture, my eyes filled with tears. It wasn't my old marketing director's salary, but it was earned with my own 2 hands, and it represented a new hope for my life. I rushed home to show Kevin. We jumped up and down like kids. "See? I did it. We'll pay Mike back in no time." Kevin kissed my forehead. "I always believed in you. My wife is a superhero." The lights of our small apartment glowed warmly against the dark night sky. The road ahead was still uncertain, and my in-laws were surely not finished with us. But now, united and with a new path forward, I knew we could overcome anything. Word of mouth spread like wildfire. My colleagues shared the before and after pictures in several upscale condo community groups, and my business page was flooded with inquiries. The real test came from a middle-aged woman named Mrs. Davis. "Is this Grace from the organizing service?" she asked, her voice strained over the phone. "I need your help, urgently. I have an old apartment I need to sell to move abroad with my daughter, but every potential buyer is turned off by how cluttered and run down it is. Can you make it look presentable enough to sell?" When I stepped into the apartment, the smell of mildew and dust was overwhelming. The space was choked with decades of accumulated belongings. It was a daunting task, but I saw the potential beneath the chaos. Good structure, large windows. "I can fix this," I told her, "but you have to let me be ruthless." She agreed. I called Kevin for backup. Together, with 2 hired helpers, we launched a 3-day assault. Day 1 was decluttering. We filled over a dozen large trash bags. Day 2 was cleaning and painting. Kevin painted the walls a bright cream, and I scrubbed the old tile floors until their original patterns shone. Day 3 was staging. I arranged the remaining furniture with a minimalist, cozy aesthetic, adding plants, a simple rug, and a vase of fresh flowers. The transformation was stunning. The dark, depressing apartment now looked like a bright, artistic, vintage-inspired home. When Mrs. Davis returned, she was moved to tears. "Is this really my home? It's so beautiful. If I had met you sooner, I might not have wanted to sell it." 2 days later, she called with ecstatic news. A buyer had made an offer immediately for $20,000 more than her asking price. She paid my fee, plus a very generous bonus. I held the check in my hand and immediately called my brother. "Mike, I'm sending you the first $5,000. I'm earning money again." He just laughed on the other end. "That's my girl. No rush. Just glad to see you back on your feet." That night, Kevin and I celebrated at our favorite little barbecue spot. For the first time since my illness, I felt like my life was truly blooming. The peace lasted for 2 months. Then, the phone rang. It was Kevin's aunt. "Kevin, you have to come home. Your father had a stroke. He's in the ICU. It's bad. He might not make it through the night." Kevin's face went pale. Even after being burned once, the fear of losing a parent was visceral. He looked at me, his resolve wavering. I was calmer this time. "Kevin, remember last time? Let's verify it first." I had him video call his aunt and demand to see his father. She fumbled with the phone, then briefly showed Frank lying in a hospital bed. He looked fine. His heart monitor showed normal readings. He even flinched when he heard Kevin's voice. "Let me talk to the doctor," Kevin said firmly. His aunt quickly ended the video call, claiming the doctor was busy and demanding he bring money for the hospital bills. Kevin hung up, sighing. "They're at it again. They must be broke." Though he knew it was a sham, Kevin decided to drive to his hometown to end things once and for all. I wanted to go, but he refused. "You're pregnant," he said. "You shouldn't travel." It was true. I was 2 weeks pregnant, a joyful surprise in the midst of everything. Kevin went home armed with a thick file of documents. The next day, he called, his voice tired but relieved. "It's done, Grace." It turned out Frank had mild high blood pressure from drinking, but Brenda and Rick had exaggerated it into a stroke to get more money from Kevin. The reason? Rick's spoiled son, Braden, had been accepted to an expensive private school, and Rick, deep in gambling debt, needed to pay the $25,000 tuition. In front of the entire extended family, Kevin had thrown a stack of bank statements on the table. "Look at this. This is every dollar I've sent this family in the last 3 years. A total of 0. That includes the $150,000 you stole from my dying wife to go on vacation." The family was silent. When Brenda tried to argue, Kevin cut her off. "I'm here today to make a declaration. As of this moment, all my financial obligations to this family are terminated. I have fulfilled my duty as a son, and then some." He then went outside, gathered all his childhood awards and photos, and set them on fire. "The son you knew is dead," he said to the ashes. "The gullible, foolish boy you could so easily deceive is gone. From now on, I live for my wife and my child." He walked away, ignoring their curses. After that trip, Kevin was quieter, but also stronger. He took incredible care of me, talking to my belly every night. "I'll protect you both," he'd whisper. "I'll never let anyone hurt you." But we knew the peace was fragile. I suggested we move. They know where we live. I'm worried they'll show up and cause trouble, especially with the baby coming. Kevin agreed instantly. We sold our car and used the money for a deposit on a high-security apartment in Lincoln Park. The move was done quietly, at night. A few days later, the doorbell rang. It was Chloe, Rick's 8-year-old daughter. She collapsed into my arms, sobbing. "Aunt Grace, please help me. Dad is hitting me. He wants me to drop out of college and get a factory job to pay off his debts." Her arms were covered in bruises. Chloe was the one good soul in that family, and like me, a victim of their selfishness. She had just been accepted to a great university. Her father wanted her to sacrifice her future to pay for his gambling and fund her brother Braden's private school education. When Kevin came home and saw his niece's condition, he was furious. We took her in immediately. "You'll stay with us, Chloe," he said. "You'll go to college. I won't let your life be ruined like mine almost was." I made Chloe promise one thing. She could never, ever reveal our new address to her father or grandmother. She swore she wouldn't. Chloe's presence brightened our home. She was a great help, and we loved having her. But you can't hide from the past forever. One afternoon, Chloe was on the phone with her best friend, excitedly describing her new life. "Yeah, I'm with Uncle Kevin and Aunt Grace. Their new apartment is amazing. It's a high-rise in Lincoln Park with a view of the city." I overheard and felt a pang of anxiety, but I thought, it's just her best friend. What I didn't know was that her best friend was also a distant cousin of Brenda's. The next morning, Kevin's phone rang with an unknown number. It was Brenda, her voice dripping with venom. Well, the ungrateful son. Hiding away in your fancy apartment, are you? Living high on the hog while you let your parents starve?" She continued to rant. "I know where you live now. Lincoln Park. I'm coming up there, and I'm coming to see my grandchild. In fact, I'll just move in to help with the new baby. And I'm taking Chloe home." Kevin started to argue, but I took the phone. I knew logic wouldn't work. You have to hit them where it hurts. Their wallet. "Hello, Brenda," I said, my voice ice cold. "You want to come visit?" "Fine. But you should know, Chloe is working for me now. We are paying her a salary and covering her entire college tuition. If you or Rick show your faces here, or cause any trouble at all, she is out on the street that same day. We will cut off all support. Then Rick can figure out how to pay for her education himself. Or she can drop out and come home to be another mouth for you to feed. It's your choice. Leave us in peace, and Chloe gets her degree. Make a scene, and everyone loses." Brenda was speechless. She knew Rick was broke. After a moment of sputtering, she hung up. Chloe, who had overheard, looked terrified, knowing she had made a terrible mistake. I hugged her. "It's okay. It's not your fault. But now you see what we're dealing with." Brenda stayed away. The threat had worked, for now. But I knew it was just a temporary truce. They were like sharks that had smelled blood. They would never truly give up as long as they saw us thriving. The war was far from over. The silence from my in-laws lasted about 3 months. During that time, my company, Graceful Spaces, exploded. I went from organizing closets to redesigning entire office spaces, cafes, and boutique hotels. My biggest contract was with a major corporate tower downtown, a project worth a significant amount. I was finally on top, my reputation solidified. Just as I was hitting my professional peak, the ghosts of the past returned. One morning at a job site, I noticed a couple of shady-looking men taking pictures of me. That evening, Chloe, scrolling through Facebook, made a discovery. "Aunt Grace, look, my dad, he started a new interior design company. It's called Rick's Renovations." We looked it up. The logo, the slogan, it was a cheap knockoff of my company. He was even running ads, undercutting my prices by 50%. The next morning, my phone blew up. Clients and partners were sending me links to a post in a huge online gossip group. The headline was sensational. "Famous home organizer is a heartless, cheating daughter-in-law who stole her family's fortune." The post was filled with the photos the men had taken, angled to make it look like I was being inappropriately familiar with a male client. It was accompanied by a completely fabricated story of how I had cheated on Kevin, stolen his parents' life savings to start my business, and then thrown them out on the street. The author was an anonymous account, but I knew it was Rick and Brenda. The comments were brutal. I knew she looked shady. Boycott her business. What a horrible person. My blood boiled. They weren't just after my money anymore. They wanted to destroy my reputation, my career, my life. Kevin slammed his fist on the table. "That's it! I'm going to kill him!" "No!" I stopped him. "That's what they want. We have to be smart." I told Chloe to screenshot everything, the posts, the comments, any connection between the fake accounts and Rick's new company. I told Kevin to get the bank statements from the last 3 years and find the video of Sharon's Key West livestream. We were going to fight back with the truth. The online attacks were relentless. Clients started to cancel. The corporate tower demanded an explanation. The pressure was immense, but I refused to be silent. I spent an entire night crafting my response. I titled it, "The Truth About the $150,000 and the Key West Vacation at My Deathbed." I laid out the entire story, from my diagnosis to the desperate calls for help. Then I released my ultimate weapon, a recording of the phone call with Brenda. I had been so furious that day, I had hit the record button. Her shrill, cruel voice filled the air. "The money you gave us was out of love and respect for your parents. It was mine. Your wife is sick. That's your problem." Next, I posted the bank statement showing the $150,000 transfer to Brenda, with the memo, "For Dad's emergency medical care." Beside it, I posted their smiling Key West vacation photo, time-stamped for the exact same day. I ended the post with a final, powerful statement. My life was saved by my own brother, who sold his land to help me, not by my in-laws. I have been silent for the sake of peace, but I will not allow my name and my unborn child's future to be destroyed by lies. The kind of people who would use life-saving money to go on vacation and then attack the person they wronged will be judged by the law and their own conscience. I hit post. The effect was instantaneous and explosive. With undeniable proof audio recordings, bank records, photos, public opinion shifted 180 degrees. The outrage that had been directed at me was now aimed squarely at Brenda and her family. My post went viral. News outlets picked up the story. Rick's new company page was flooded with 1-star reviews and furious comments. Chloe also discovered his company wasn't even legally registered. I promptly reported him to the IRS and the Better Business Bureau. A week later, the war was over. Rick's Renovations was shut down by the authorities for tax evasion and operating without a license. He was hit with massive fines. His old loan sharks, hearing he was broke again, came to collect. His life, and the lives of my in-laws, descended into chaos. That night, Rick called Kevin, begging for mercy. "Kevin, help me, man! They're gonna break my legs! Tell your wife to call it off!" Kevin looked at me. I shook my head and took the phone. "You want me to drop it, Rick? Fine. On 2 conditions. First, you publish a public apology in 3 major newspapers, admitting you slandered me. Second, you reimburse me for the emotional and financial damages for the exact amount you stole, $150,000. He howled. $150,000? Where am I going to get that kind of money? Then I guess you can wait for the court summons for defamation. I hear jail time is a possibility. I hung up. The next day, Brenda tried her old trick. She showed up at our building, planning to cause a scene in the lobby. But I had already given her photo to security. They promptly escorted her off the premises. In the end, Rick had to sell the last piece of family land, their ancestral home, to pay me and his other debts. The public apology was printed. Justice had been served. With the storm finally past, it was time for my due date. After 6 grueling hours of labor, our daughter was born. We named her Anna, a simple, beautiful name that held all of our hopes for a life of peace. Holding her for the first time, Kevin wept. "I'm so sorry, Anna," he whispered. "I'm sorry you had to go through so much before you were even born." My brother Mike drove up, his truck filled with gifts from his farm. He gave me a thick envelope of cash for the baby. "Anyone who messes with you or this little girl," he said, clapping a hand on Kevin's shoulder, "has to go through me." In that hospital room, surrounded by my brother, my husband, my niece, and my beautiful new daughter, I knew I had found my true family. But my in-laws' capacity for cruelty was bottomless. 3 days after Anna was born, they showed up at the hospital, Brenda, Frank, Rick, and his wife. They barged into my room without knocking. Well, Brenda sneered, peering at the baby. "All that fuss for a girl. What a waste. A total loss." Frank shook his head in disappointment. 3 generations of boys in this family. I thought you'd give us a grandson to carry on the family name." I clutched my baby tightly, my body trembling with rage. "Anna," startled by the noise, began to cry. Kevin roared, "Get out! All of you, get out now! My daughter is precious, not something for you to insult. I'm her grandmother. I have a right," Brenda shrieked. "You failed your duty. Here, give me a few $1,000s. I'll have a ceremony to ward off the bad luck this girl will bring." That was the last straw. I pressed the emergency call button. 2 security guards and a nurse rushed in. "These people are trespassing, harassing a patient, and disturbing a newborn," I said calmly. "Please remove them. If they resist, I will call the police." Faced with the guards, they scurried away, Brenda spitting a final curse before she left. A month later, we held a small, private party for Anna. We invited only our real family, Mike and his wife, Chloe, and a few close friends. In the middle of the celebration, the door burst open. It was Brenda, with a notoriously gossipy distant aunt, live streaming on her phone. "Hello, everyone," the aunt chirped into her phone. "We're here celebrating my grandniece's party. So fancy." Their plan was obvious: crash the party for free food and create a social media spectacle of a happy, reconciled family. Kevin stood up, his face like stone. "You weren't invited. Please leave." But they pushed past him. Brenda started her fake crying routine for the camera. "Look, everyone, my own son won't even let me sit at my granddaughter's party." I looked at Mike, and he understood immediately. He stood up, all 6 feet and 200 pounds of him, and loomed over the 2 women. "Are you leaving, or do I have to make you?" he boomed. Brenda, ever the actress, collapsed to the floor, clutching her chest. "He's hitting me! An old woman! Help! My heart!" I calmly took out my own phone, started my own live stream, and zoomed in on her face. "Wow, Mom, what a performance. You know, this restaurant has security cameras, and my live stream has 3,000 viewers right now. They're all saying, 'You deserve an Oscar.' Should I call an ambulance? Because if they get here and find out you're faking, you could be charged with filing a false report." Hearing the words cameras and police, Brenda's eyes flew open. She scrambled to her feet. "I'm fine. I don't have time for you people anyway." The 2 of them scurried out of the restaurant in humiliation. The room erupted in applause and laughter. We had won again. Not with anger, but with intelligence. 5 years passed. Graceful Spaces became one of the top design firms in the Midwest. Kevin was now a senior director at a major construction firm. We lived in a beautiful penthouse overlooking the Chicago River. Anna was a bright, happy 5-year-old. Chloe graduated with honors and was now my brilliant assistant director. The family back in Indiana had fallen apart. Rick was a part-time Uber driver with a permanent limp from a beating by loan sharks. Sharon was divorced and living with her parents. Brenda and Frank were old, sick, and poor, their house crumbling around them, burdened by their spoiled, delinquent grandson, Braden. One Sunday afternoon, a call came from their hometown. Kevin handed the phone to me. "You take it. I can't." It was Brenda, her voice old and frail. "Grace, it's me. Please, you have to help us." "Braden?" "He got into a fight and put another boy in the hospital with a brain injury. Their family is demanding $80,000, or they'll press charges and he'll go to prison for years. We have nothing left. Please, for the sake of your nephew, the only one who can carry on the family name." She was asking for $80,000 to bail out the grandson she had always favored, the very reason she had tried to ruin our lives. I looked at Anna, happily building a Lego castle. I looked at Kevin, his eyes full of love for our daughter. I took a deep, steadying breath, my voice calm and final. "Brenda, I'll be direct with you. My husband and I have $80,000. We have much more than that. But that money is for charity, for children who deserve a chance, and for our daughter's future." I paused, letting the words sink in. "I would sooner burn that money than give a single cent to you. Do you remember your debt to me? The $150,000? That wasn't just money. It was my life. When I was dying, what did you do? You went on vacation. You cursed at me. You begrudged me $200. So what right do you have to ask me for anything now?" "But he's your nephew," she wailed. "How can you watch him go to prison?" "That's called consequences, Brenda. You reap what you sow. You raised him to be a spoiled, entitled brat, and now you must face the result. Maybe prison is the best thing for him. Maybe there, he can finally learn how to be a decent human being. He certainly won't learn it from you. I looked at Kevin. He nodded, his eyes resolute. Don't call this number again, I said. We don't have that family. Goodbye. I hung up and blocked the number forever. Outside, the sun shone brightly. Anna ran over and threw her arms around my neck. Mommy, I finished the castle. Come live in it with me and Daddy. I hugged her tight, and Kevin wrapped his arms around both of us. Yes, sweetie, we'll live with you in this happy castle, forever. The dark past was finally and truly locked away. Before us lay a future filled only with love, kindness, and peace.